here we may reign secure, and in my choice, to reign is worth ambition while in hell. Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. Okay, you can't read that without feeling some fire, even though it sounds totally sacrilegious. He's obviously, looking around, getting a grip on how horrible the situation is, and then deciding to run with it, right? He's a fighter. So that's your portrayal of Satan here. And actually, with that in mind, I'm just going to have you guys look at this sheet that I handed out, just to get a feel for some of the ways that artists have imagined this almost unimaginable thing, right? And if you are an artist, or if you're a musician, which I know a lot of you are, how do you represent evil? How do you represent something so absolute? Okay? Writers have wrestled with this forever. I'm more familiar with that. But the way that artists have done this is particularly intriguing with Paradise Lost and this kind of, shape-shifting quality of Satan. And the first one I would have you look at is actually the Henry Fuselli on the back. It's the left-hand side one there. The three images, by the way, that I chose for you guys, they're all from the Romantic era. So again, I feel like they totally sort of like streamline into Terence's work, makes his work kind of clarified, and you can kind of see some similarities through time, but you can also see where Terence takes chances too, and I want to get to that. But the first one is the Fuselli on the left, the lower hand corner. It's part of a series. Fuselli was Swiss-born, moved to England eventually, and those of you familiar with art probably know his painting The Nightmare. It's a really famous painting of a woman having a fit on a bed. Looks like she's just had some kind of sexual fantasy, and there's this little horrible demon sitting on her chest, kind of representing, I guess, her thoughts or something. He hung that in the National Gallery in the 1790s, and everybody went nuts. But it was the era where people started talking about sort of like satanic or revolutionary or radical things. So he became quite popular from this. And what Fuselli decided to do reminds me a little of what Terence is trying to do here. He actually opened up a Milton gallery. He had 40 paintings from various scenes of Paradise Lost. The gallery flopped in 1 year, but the paintings remained, and the paintings actually inspired a pretty awesome version of Paradise Lost that came out, as you can see, in 1799. So I think what I was trying to get at with giving you the Fuselli first, which is the first image, to me, when I see this one, I almost don't know that this is Satan. There's such a sense of sort of like power and like a fierceness to the portrayal here. You could almost think that this would be God or a representation of Jesus, right? That sense of power. So the thing that I actually wanted to stress about the Fuselli is the way that Fuselli, as a romantic, sees Satan as this sort of like symbol of humanity and strength. Okay? You can juxtapose that to the second one, and if you flip back to the picture of Blake, what you have here, and Blake did 12 different plates for Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost have 12 books. Here he's representing book 4, where Satan for the first time is thinking about a way in to Adam and Eve. And literally you can see Satan's finger breaking in through the flowers and pointing at this holy couple who are totally pristine still at that moment. The thing that I wanted to kind of point out here is, if you look at the way that that Blake decides to portray Satan, he's got the same face as Adam. He's totally human. And he's also got, he doesn't have so much a look of sort of like strength and anger as maybe confusion. It almost looks like he's facing his own demon, literally, right? He's not... Sorry?
Almost looks benevolent.
Almost, yeah. You could almost think that this would not be Satan at all, right? But Satan as the snake kind of wrestling with another angel. It is in fact Satan facing his own demon, looking at the very thing that he's going to use to incorporate evil into the world. So that's the main thing. Very striking through the series, how Satan's face looks so human, and his body and everything doesn't even look like an idea of evil at all. And then the third thing, if you flip back again over, John Martin did an unbelievable set of mezzo tints. And if you're an artist, you know the mezzo tint, extremely difficult technique. I read that there's one artist right now who's doing them. He's sort of like on a high level. Very, very difficult to capture. And you can see here, I wish you could, I actually included the website, so people who are interested can page over to those. Magnificent chiaroscuro effect here, white and black, very strongly juxtaposed. And what this is a story of, I'm sorry the copy is not so good, but Satan is kind of like prowling around heaven looking, he's already fallen, but he's kind of like looking for a way to instigate evil. And for the first time he sees the wall of heaven from this side. That's the thing that's in the distance. And of course that sort of streaming of light is God coming from up high. And I guess what strikes me about this painting feels very transcendentalist to me, in that you have tiny, tiny people and great, massive nature, right? Nature and God are sort of the predominant forces in this image. And Satan almost looks helpless, right? It looks like he's kind of, you know, in the light of this power and this sign of God's incredible, you know, force. He himself is just like this tiny, shadowy figure. What can he possibly do? If you look at Martin's series, you see what Satan does. And Satan actually, down in hell, gains this kind of like incredible illumination around him. But here you see the humanity again coming across. I guess those were the things I really wanted to kind of bring forth for you guys and to direct your attention when you look at Terence's pictures. The idea of that fierce independence, that sense of power and pride, but also the human factor, right? The sense that Satan suffered, and Satan has this kind of very human quality, this very simpatico feeling about him, right? You can identify with him. And just before I open up the floor for questions, this is one of my favorites from Terence's series. This is the second plate, and Terence is going to talk to you next, so I'm really not wanting to talk about an artist's work in front of the artist. That's in general the worst thing one can do. But the reason that this really caught my eye, this is a picture of Satan right after he's fallen from heaven. So in other words, he's fought with God, he got everybody together, and now he's paying the consequences, right? He's down in hell, he's burning alive, and he looks utterly miserable. The element of suffering that you see in this picture, the idea that Terence had of portraying Satan as someone who is a survivor, okay? He's come through this, and if you look at the next paintings in the series, you can see that Satan, just like in Milton's book, decides to take over hell and rule as he would like. And Terence, I know you have that other plate 3 over there. Would you mind just showing everybody, just because that kind of is like the next move, and I think it's very magnificent. It's a bit smaller than this one. But plate 3 represents...
It might be hard to see, but there are plates back there, and you can pick up. The postcards are free today. And here Satan has risen off the floor of hell. And he rises up a gigantic figure in this vast plain. You know, he claims hell for his own. And round he throws his baleful eyes that witness huge affliction and dismay. But I'll be getting onto that in a minute when I recite.
Okay.
But that's the...
What I really liked about this is you can literally see that hell is on his mind, right? I mean, you have the eyeballs of Satan that he's contemplating what he has done. Just like that passage that I read you, he kind of has like some second thoughts about it. But then you have this reinforced, empowered vision of him there when he decides to sort of like run with it, to not abandon the troops and actually to sort of like herald them and fight the unwinnable battle. So thank you for showing that.